Okay, YouTube, welcome back to Buzz Aldrin Space Program Manager, Road to the Moon with the Flying Phent. This is our strategy guide on how to get the maximum budget in the first two budgetary reviews. And this is the third episode. This is the episode where we're going to finish the first budgetary review period and start the second one. Sorry, just having a quick drink there. My throat suddenly got scratchy out of nowhere. Okay, so it's a new year, first quarter 1958. Let's take a look if there's any astronauts worth hiring. I don't know, I'm clicking that button. That doesn't help me. Again, I'm looking at the intelligence. I'm looking for 94 is not bad, 96, 95. 37 is too old. 29 is not bad. The cost is acceptable. Skills are okay. 94 is a little bit too old. This 93 is 27. Look at that, Carl Newell. Both of the important skills are over 50. He's a 93. He's young. He is expensive, but he's young. So I'm going to grab him. And then I think Randall Jacobs I'll grab as well. Again, skills are pretty good. He's young. He's pretty good. He's kind of the bottom level of intelligence that I hire, but he's only $25 a season. I think he's a catch. Let's snag him. The only other person I would entertain would be Lester Burnham here because he's young. I wonder if he's related to Bo Burnham. Oh, Bo. Lester Burnham. His skills aren't great. I do like that he's smart, though. That would easily make up for the fact that his leadership is low. Average, I don't like his cost. If he was cheaper, I'd grab him. I mean, I'm not incredibly pleased with Carl Newell's cost, to be completely honest with you. But I think at this point, getting near the end of the first budgetary review period, you really want to have 4 to 6 astronauts kind of on your payroll. So I'm going to go with these two. I'm not going to hire extra, but I'll start with these two. We'll get them in training. Good. Now let's take a look. Would it be worthwhile upgrading set? Do we have amazing people that we absolutely can't go without? Not really. Not particularly. If you recall, the first team that I hired, or the second team that I hired, where there was like 397s, if I open this and I saw 397 intelligences and then they were smart in, human rated rockets or crewed spacecraft or space probes, I might grab them. But I'm not really seeing that. I'm seeing kind of, 91s that look acceptable. So, yep, not going to worry about upgrading that. Mission control, almost guarantee you I'm not going to upgrade. There's just no need for it right now. Although, I mean, that's pretty nice. 96, 97, 95. But then 85, 88, 85, there's nothing in here to kind of write home about. That's fine. We'll work with just 2 teams for now. Save our bucks. All right, so everyone's assigned. Everything's ticking along nicely. We take a look. We're at 4 seasons left to go. Let's end this season. Reliability is going to buck up to 66 there. 77 there. Perfect. Bunch of people are done stuff. Good. We got people done training. Look at that. Louis Shelley has hit his 92% in his primary objective, his primary role. Marcus Trejo was our flight director, if you recall, our 3rd flight director. So let's send Marcus off to work on his weakest skill, which is propulsion. And then Louis Shelley, we need to remember what his lowest skill was. And that happens to be mission operations. So Louis Shelley, mission operations, single training course, because it's a secondary skill. And if I need him, I want to have him available. Back to Space Complex, end the season. Almost at 80% there, and we have broken 80% on the rocket. Fantastic. People graduating training, good. How many seasons left now? 2. So we got 1 more season, and then we need to start launching this mission. So Alberto Faro has reached 90% in his primary role. Parker Yoder has reached 90% in his. Now, you might be tempted to send these 2 off on their secondary roles, but here's the thing. We're launching a mission in 1 season. We're probably going to want these 2. We can double check that, though, by just looking. Do we have a propulsion or a spacecraft systems graduating next season that's going to be over 90%? Propulsion will be graduating next season. Probably not going to break 90%, though. Spacecraft systems, Levi Lopez probably will break 90% next season. So we're going to keep Alberto Faro around to be the rocket guy. Parker Yoder, though, can start working on his secondary skill. which is propulsion. Jesse Mize. Now this is where we got to think. Flight director. Do we want to keep? Is Jesse Mize our best flight director? Well, let's find out. Who is our best flight director? Let's sort by that skill. And he is. Now, Gregory Anderson is going to graduate next season. Is Gregory Anderson going to be better than him? 77557. This will be 67765. No. So Jesse Mize is still going to be the best flight director. So we'll hang on to Jesse Mize for a season. So we have 2 idlers there, but we are intentionally keeping them idle. No idlers anywhere else. We're still researching. We're just going to end this season and move to the next. Broke 83% there. This one's almost at 85. Oh, fantastic. There we go. Looking for good or bad events. There are none. We can move on. Who's graduated training? Let's take a peek. A human-rated rocket person. And a spacecraft person. We're not quite ready for human-rated rockets. But will we be soon is the question. In fact, we are ready for human-rated rockets. We're just not going to open it because it costs money. So we're ready. We are ready. So let's leave this guy. Is his morale high enough that we can let him idle out? Yes. Devin Peterson can just sit idle for a moment. Danny O'Neill, same thing. In one season, I don't want to open it yet. I don't want to open the space plane yet because I'm going to have to, it costs a fair amount to open it. How much does it cost? Let's see. $1,400. We might open it next season. The problem is it's always hard to keep track of how much things are going to cost, and you don't want to overdo it. Or is this the season that we're launching? Oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's schedule the mission first, and then we'll know what's left over, right? So let's pick the rocket that's going to work. Of course, it's the Juno 2. We kind of worked it out, so it worked that way. We'll assemble it now. Let's auto-assign, see if we have any shortcomings. We do, in navigation. Gregory Anderson, I'm sorry, my friend, but you are nowhere near good enough to fill that role. So we know we need a navigation person. So let's go ahead, actually, and see who's in training with high navigation skill. Felix Whitson has just entered training, right? It's 3 seasons, there are 3 rounds. So Felix Whitson, we're going to pull him out of training so he won't suffer a penalty because he just started, and he will fill that role. So let's go. By the way, that's if you went to assemble and then you didn't finish assembling it, the way to finish it is by going to the vehicle assembly building. We'll assemble it. We'll get Felix Whitson in there at the 86%. We will confirm the assignments. We'll go back. Good. We can go to where? What do we want to do? Well, let's take care of these idlers first. Evan Moser is propulsion. We'll send him back. Gregory Anderson is a flight director, 6776. His weakest is mission operations. And Jackson Araveo is mission operations. What's his backup? Spacecraft systems. Let's send him off to work on spacecraft systems. Okay, so those idlers are dealt with. These guys, we know who the idlers are, right? One is a rocket guy. One is a crewed spacecraft guy. So let's go ahead and start researching our space planes already. We got a little bit of cash. We could unlock this. Start researching it. Get that little push. So let's go ahead, manage payloads and R&D. We'll hop down here. We'll stick our crewed spacecraft guy. Now, Devin Peterson, we have nothing for him to do, right? So we could send him back for training, but is he really going to see an increase on 92.7? Not really. Actually, we can afford to unlock that rocket now. So I don't know what I'm dilly-dallying about. Let's just... When you get to something like this, where you have both a rocket and a human-rated rocket, in my experience, the one does not give a benefit to the other unless it has it in the name. So, for example, you might get to... We unlock these 2, for example, right? And then maybe you finish the Thor Able. And you're thinking, oh, well, the next 2 rockets are a human-rated and a normal rocket. And, the Flying Phent just told us that when they're 2 side by side like that, there's no penalty, except the Atlas booster, Atlas Agena. The Atlas Agena is probably going to be based on the Atlas booster. It's right in the name, right? So you're probably going to want to do the Atlas booster first. I don't know 100% that's how it works, but that's my guess. So if you have a chance to open two like we do here, here's a normal rocket, here's a human-rated rocket. Generally speaking, I believe that they both get the maximum reliability when you open them, unless the name is included. Now, if these were both Atlas something, right? If this was like the Atlas Centaur, I mean, it doesn't make sense because the Atlas Centaur is not human rated and it's further down. But let's just say this was like the Atlas, the Atlas Ares booster, and this was the Atlas Agena booster. Then yeah, you could probably open them at the same time. But because this is the base Atlas booster, it's probably going to be used in the Atlas Agena, so I don't recommend doing that. But we can go ahead and open the Redstone. Right? Its name is not taken from something else. It's, the rocket is a base rocket. This is a thing. This is a human rated, so it should be fine. And if you look, this is what I'm talking about. It says 3%. Let's open the program and then skip down here. And it says 75%. So I assume that's a glitch that's going to get fixed, but there we go. We can get Devin Peterson started on his researches. This thing is going to go up another little bit. That's beautiful. All the programs are looking well. We got $1,000 in the bank. Can we upgrade anything at $1,000? I don't think we can. And there's no big rush to. Like, it's not like you lose that money, right? It carries over to next season. But it's worth looking, I think, just to see. Okay, so now we have a mission scheduled to go. We're done everything. Let's end the season. We'll say yes. We got our last little boost in research. Over 85% there. Over 85% there. Our crewed spacecraft, look at that, already at 32%. The Redstone booster. And see, look at this. This is one season of research on the Redstone booster. It's already almost at 80% with one single researcher. I don't know if you're paying attention to what that means, but that means that if you had 4 researchers, this thing would be ready to go in one season. That's why doing them in order is such a huge, huge deal. Otherwise, this would take like 20 seasons to do. So, I really think do the rockets in order. It'll really serve you well. Okay, so the Pioneer 4 lunar flyby, combined reliability 86%. Let's launch the mission. Skip to the outcome. Successful, 2200 prestige. Achieve 3 goals. There they are. You'll remember Russia still hasn't launched Sputnik, right? It's important to recognize Russia still has not launched Sputnik. Russia has not succeeded in a single mission yet. Not only that, but when they do, it's going to be worth less because we have already done it on the first round. So we got our maximum budget of $10,000. Russia got their minimum budget. And every mission they launch from here on out that we've already done is going to be worth less prestige because we've already done it. So it's a huge boost to us. We are well ahead of Russia at this point. As far as I'm concerned, the game's over. You're going to beat Russia if you just continue pushing like we have been. You're going to beat Russia. They just can't keep up anymore. The flip side is true as well, though, right? If you constantly find yourself falling behind Russia, you're never going to be able to catch up because everything you do will be worth less. You'll have less money available and they will have more money available. So you really got to push in the start like we did to get this. You can't get lazy though. You got to keep pushing. You got to hit the next one as well and kind of just slaughter Russia so you're so far ahead they can't even compete. The next goal we need is 9,375. It does not matter how much prestige you had at the end of the first budgetary period. Whether this was still 250, whether it was 0, whether it was 50,000, the next prestige that your goal you're going to need is always going to be 9,375. And look at that wonderful budget. More than 1.5 times what we get now. We definitely want to hit 9,375. On the plus side, we're already halfway there, or almost halfway there, right? So we're kind of well along our way. All right, budget got increased. We had a huge boost there. We can go ahead, manage programs. We've launched the Pioneer 4 lunar flyby. Let's close that program. We don't need it anymore. And let's take a second before we decide how we're going to move forward to kind of examine our rocket situation. Rockets are really going to dictate kind of your trajectory, right? How you're going to progress. If we look at the Redstone booster, it's pretty useless. It only does suborbital, so we're not really going to be able to do a lot with it. Almost everything, almost all the missions we run at this phase are going to be low Earth orbit, translunar, or transplanetary. So this isn't great. The only thing that this would be useful for, you'll see it's 3,508 kilos. The only thing this would be useful for would be if you wanted to start doing some of the Mercury stuff. because you can see it's only 1355 and it's suborbital. The problem is there's only 2 missions that you can do with it, and then you're into low Earth orbit stuff. So not a great rocket, you know, not a great rocket, but it starts to open the way. Okay, we were going to work on the Thor Able as well. How does that look? Well, not too bad, right? You might think 120 kilos low Earth orbit, that's pretty good. 55 kilos translunar, that's amazing. 120 and 55. Here's the catch. The next lightest space probe is the orbiting frog Autolith at 133. That thing only did 120. Not good enough. The next lightest space probe is the Pioneer 2, I believe, and it's 38. So you will potentially be able to do the Pioneer 2, but you're not going to get any Earth things done. And if you were to, you know, poke around and look, you'd see I'm not lying to you, right? Those are indeed the lightest for their particular roles. So what I do at this point is I go ahead and I open up the Thor Able rocket program, which maxes out our vehicle assembly building, which is important to recognize. So you know it's a priority now. You have to upgrade your vehicle assembly building. I also go ahead and I open up the Pioneer 2 lunar orbiter. And I do these first because of the money situation. You have a good budget now, a seasonal budget, but you still have limited funds every season, which is the bit of the catch. So if you had just gone ahead and upgraded everything, oh, it's great to have all those upgrades and be able to hire more people. But if you can't unlock programs, you're kind of sitting at a bit of a stalemate, right? So you got to be kind of wise about how you do it in the order you do things. Now, did we get another crewed spacecraft person done training? We did. Look at that. All 4 of them are done. They're all ready to go. Look at that. 42% increase in 1 season on this bad boy. Oh, that's beautiful. Space probe people, they're not at 90% yet, remember? We had to sign them to get those huge boosts. So we're going back to the rotation. Only 2 are going to research, 2 are going to train. Rocket, same thing. We didn't really break through. Oh, actually, do we have a... No, we don't. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do 2 can research, 2 can train. So what are the big priorities now? Well, if you noticed in the rocket program, the Atlas should happen before the Atlas Agena. But we have a bit of a shortage of human-rated rocket researchers. So that's your hiring priority now, is human-rated rocket researchers. You also can't do more rockets until you upgrade your vehicle assembly building. So that tells you your priorities right there. Your priorities are upgrading your set center and upgrading your vehicle assembly building. You got $2,400. You can't do them both. You got to pick one or the other. Which one is more important? Well, the vehicle assembly, the set center only takes 2 seasons to upgrade. It's going to cost you $1,500. The vehicle assembly building is going to take 3 seasons to upgrade, and it's going to cost you $2,000. So you might be tempted to start on the VAB first. The catch is you're going to have people needing to train for quite a while. So I honestly think it's best to do the set center first. Now that does eat up our entire budget for the season pretty much, but that's fine. The rest of it's going to get spent on training. I'm going to start off by training my set personnel. Diego Grace was a rocket person. Jamie Pugh was a rocket person. Jason Weinstein was space probes. And Stephen Rock was space probes as well. Okay. Astronaut Center. These are the new hires, so we need to get their fitness up to 75%. And then we'll do leadership up to 90, just like the last group. Now you also want to recall, we are pretty close to launching that space probe, the reusable space plane, whatever they call it. So out of curiosity, when will our astronauts be graduating? In 2 seasons, they'll be graduating. And it looks like Colby McDonald's going to be our genius. So one of these 2 guys in 2 seasons will be ready to go. So we're 2 seasons away from already starting our manned space plane launches. So you see, we're really kind of accelerated everything now, and we're going to just kind of keep that going. We're just going to keep that trend of pushing forward, kind of accelerating everything as we move. Now, Alberto Ferro, this guy's ready to go. Crew and payloads was his secondary skill. Felix Whitson hasn't reached it in trajectory and GNC yet, so we're going to send him back for more. Jesse Mize was a flight director. His lowest skill is spacecraft systems. We have Lane Neely, who's reached it in crew and payloads. His next is trajectory and GNC. Levi Lopez has hit it in spacecraft systems. His backup was propulsion. Lewis Shelley did crew and payloads. His backup is mission operations. Yeah, there you go. I didn't see him for a second. Mission operations. Marcus Trejo is the other flight director. His weakest is trajectory and GNC. Ricky Pierre. He is trajectory and GNC as a backup. His primary was mission ops. He's done mission ops, so trajectory and GNC. And then Seth Brenner was trajectory and GNC. His backup is spacecraft systems. He hit 90%. He goes for spacecraft systems. Now you may be curious. Because they've accomplished their primary role, I want them to come back every 3 seasons for reassignment, which is why I'm only sending them for a single round. And that's just because I may need them, and I don't mind reassigning them. You could just set them to, continuous training to reach 90%, and then just remove them from training as you need them. I've done that as well. I don't think one method is necessarily better or worse than the other, so do it whichever way you want. That's fine. You notice we're in the negatives here. That's fine. As long as you're in the positives at the start of the next season after your seasonal budget is assigned, you're fine. One other thing worth mentioning here, one of the advantages of doing the set center over the VAB, you want the set center to finish this year so you can take advantage of hiring in this year, right? You want to build it in 1959 to hire in 1959. If you were to wait a season or two, it's not going to be ready until 1960. Then you're going to miss that entire crew of people that you could hire this year. You're not going to be able to hire any of them. So that's another advantage to go with the set center over the VAB. But the VAB is something that you do need to get working on. In any case, we got no idlers. We can end this season. Look at this. Look at that jump. 80%. We're ready for the space plane now, but we're going to get one more season out of it. The Redstone booster, we've hit 80% already. That's massive. It's been 2 seasons with 1 researcher. It's done. The Thor Able, right? 1 season with 2 half-assed researchers. It's almost done. So definitely going in order with the rockets is a huge thing. Pioneer 2 is almost ready to go. So we're at the point we could R&D, boost to R&D. Beautiful. Has Russia done the Sputnik yet? No, they have not. So it just goes to show you, once they fall behind, they have a hard time catching up, right? 2 years since we've done, they haven't done anything. We've done something kind of over and over. Oh, all right. So this is still building. We got our budgetary influx. We can start upgrading again. I'm just going to take a look. What's that? That's going to take 2 seasons. So ideally, you want to do mission control this season to get space to hire again in 1959. So I'm going to do that. Vehicle assembly building. We need it to get new rocket programs, which we need. So let's do that as well. We got $2,000 left. Really have nothing to spend it on. We have 1 idler here. So let's grab him. It's Parker Yoder. He finished spacecraft systems. His backup is propulsion. I should have known that by looking at it. It's almost a 70%. So that's all done. There's something else that I wanted to look at. I wanted to look at rockets. Because we'd really like to get, the sooner we can move, the quicker, right? We've hit that point. The Atlas booster is going to be using the Atlas Agena. We want to get this Atlas booster going as quickly as possible so that we don't stall out with our normal rocket researchers. We could, in theory, close a program to make room. And I'm very tempted to do that because, honestly, we know that the Jupiter C can't do anything else. In fact, we know that for a fact. The Jupiter C is not useful in any further rocket launch programs that we're going to come up with. The Juno 2 also lacks the payload. It's not going to be useful in anything else that we do. We can close both of those programs. That's opened up some space now that we can open the Atlas booster and get working on it. Again, if you notice, it started at 3% reliability. Why is it not in the list? Did I not open it? Oh, I can't afford to open it, I bet. Yeah, it costs $47.50. Yikes. So we're going to have to, next season we'll be able to afford to open it. But we're coming along, right? We're going to be ready to launch the X-15 right away. The Pioneer 2 is going to be ready to go next season, I believe. Oh no, it's going to need a while. Oh, well, okay then. In that case, we're not in a big rush. Could have left those rockets programs open, but that's fine. I normally like to leave them open because now every time I go into this list, they're going to be sitting there and I got to scroll past them. If you leave them open, then they're at the very top of this list, and you know you always scroll to the bottom anyway, so I usually leave them open. But that's fine. We've closed them now. It doesn't hurt anything. No hiring to do. Did we actually look at astronauts this year? We didn't. Okay, well, or did we? I think we did, and there was no one worth having. He's young and smart, but he doesn't really have any skills. He's smart enough that he can make up for that, though. He's young, he's smart, he's pretty cheap. I'm going to hire Anthony Buckley. You don't have to hire at this point. I'm just doing it because the price is right and the age is right. Back to Space Complex. No idlers. We're good to go. We'll end the season. Space plane is ready to launch. Rocket research is done. That one's almost done. That probe's going to be in research for a bit. Morale has gone up for flight controllers. That's perfect. Astronauts graduated from training. They've re-enrolled. If you were paying attention, it said he re-enrolled. That's fine. Derek Bryan, we have another human-rated rocket researcher. Fantastic. All right, we're going to open... See, I almost opened the Jupiter C there. We're going to open the Atlas booster. Yes, we're going to pull Devin off of the Redstone booster. And we're going to move him to the Atlas. And you can see, right, 75% with only 2 researchers, it's ready to go next season. The Atlas booster is ready to go. So next season, we can open the next level of basic rocket, and it'll have high enough skill that we'll be able to just kind of move with it, which is great. We have idle flight controllers. We could assign them to training, but remember, we had an astronaut that finished. He went back into training for leadership. And let's just sort by leadership, actually. They both went back in for leadership training, but Colby McDonald's at 81.5%. I'm going to pull him out of training. And I'm going to come to my programs. I'm going to take my X15, and I'm going to hit schedule. Oh, I don't have enough flight controllers. I knew that. I was going to say I'll hit schedule to see what flight controllers I need, but I'll just go this way. Propulsion, GNC, crew, flight director. Propulsion, flight director. Mission ops is of no use to me. Jackson was spacecraft systems as a backup. So propulsion, flight director, we need crew and payloads, and trajectory and GNC. Now, pulling this guy out of training, right, it's already been 2 seasons. He's going to get a smaller increase than he would if we left him in, but you know what? It's his secondary skill. I'm not really worried about it. I'm going to pull him out. And then what else did we need? We've got propulsion. We got trajectory. We need crew. Right, we need surgeon. So to make sure our pilot's heart doesn't explode. Same thing, he's 2/3 of the way done, but it's his secondary skill. I don't care. Pull him out. Good. So let's go to missions, manage, X15, schedule the mission, assemble it now. 90, 90, 90, 68. It's fine. Pilot, 80 something. Good. Confirm the assignment. Mission scheduled and ready to go. Back to the complex. No idlers. Tempted to end season, but recall, we just finished building this thing, so we can go ahead and hire some more people. We've also got $2 grand in the bank, but we're already building the vehicle assembly building. We're already upgrading Mission Control Center. We don't need to spend anything else. We've also opened the next rocket, so that is money that's just going to go in the bank and be saved up for us. And this is the first time, I think, that we've seen that, where we've been able to start saving up funds for future projects. So that's good. It's definitely a sign of making progress. All right, so again, I'm looking for smart people. 91, 91, 95, 93, 92. So 89. Are you worth taking 89? Yes. The thing that I want overlap in is space probes and crewed spacecraft. I'm never going to need more rocket researchers. I'm never going to need more human-rated rocket researchers, except that I still need 2, right? But once I get those 2, I'm not going to need any more. So I need the overlap in space probes and crewed spacecraft. That's what Santiago's good in. Let's grab them. I'm just going to make sure I have at least 2 human-rated rocket people, and I do. I have more than 2. Good. Hire recruits. Some of those guys. Oh, look at that. I was 6. I didn't even look. I didn't even count. But look at that. It worked out perfect. Good. So we'll be able to fill that out and continue with our rocket researches. No idlers, no recruits that we can do. All the buildings being done. You could upgrade the astronaut center if you wanted to, I suppose. Might not be a bad idea. It's not that expensive. It's only going to take 2 seasons. You don't get a huge increase there in your cost. It might be more useful, however, to upgrade your set center. It's going to take 3 seasons. So it'll be ready to go next year. That might be a worthwhile endeavor, actually. Let's do it. Let's upgrade. Nope, I turned off building mode. Let's upgrade the set center. We're still stockpiling money. It's only $100 now instead of 1,000, but that's fine. We'll end the season.